me grab my handy dandy notebook. Welcome to another podcast. Late night confessions. These are my confessions. The first thing we're going to talk about is a little deep conversation. Immigration and border control. So, we're going to cover actually a lot of topics this episode.
All right, let's get into it.
So, the first topic is immigration. So, we're going to start with immigration.
Let's go.
There are a lot of different views on what it means to be American, and some people believe it's about shared values, following the law. And I think immigration takes years. It's not even I think, it does. It takes years to get citizenship, and it takes a long time, and it can be expensive. So, should we prioritize enforcing strict... Hold on, I can't see my notes. I made notes. I came prepared. I came equipped. So the question that I have for us today is, should we prioritize enforcing strict rules, or should we lean more into being a welcoming country? What do we feel about that? What do you think about that? Let's talk about it.
Both.
Right.
Easy answer.
Why, though?
Because that's what we stand for. We're America. We welcome immigrants. We're a country based on immigration.
Yes.
As well as we should have strict, standardized policies and just stick to it.
Diversity is key. And, yeah, that's what we're founded off of.
Like, it's not that hard.
But
common sense.
I mean, being that we're a country that accepts, we're open to people seeking asylum here, I don't understand why it takes so long to get citizenship. It's a little bit ridiculous, the process it takes. I would like to see like another...
How long does it take?
I couldn't say exactly because each case is different. It's probably like...
You got to understand that we got to make sure people are loyal to the United States before we grant them citizenship as well.
Yeah, but I know, but doing 10 years is a little excessive.
Maybe in most
5
situations.
years is a little excessive. Because...
I think 5 years is okay. 10 years, probably a little excessive.
Yeah.
5 years,
I think
years,
it's a little excessive. I think it should be about 3
not
years.
bad.
3 years, okay. You come here, you're 3 years.
It depends. It depends on the circumstance, I think. We got to make sure that the personnel who are coming to get citizenship are going to be loyal to this country, and they're going to support the interest of this country.
Yeah, but I mean, don't you?
We got to put them through the grinder to make sure.
Well, it's a little unfair though, because I mean, we're all human beings. I mean, I get.
We're all human beings. There's nothing unfair about going through a standard.
No, but it's just the standard is extensive. That's the problem. It's like almost alienating a human being that is a human being just like you and I are, that wants to live the life that you and I are. So you're making them jump through a lot of hoops, whereas
we're not making anyone jump through a lot of hoops.
Yeah, for them to be here.
What are the hoops?
You have to take these tests, and you got to get lawyers, and you got to pay all these expensive fees and things like that.
Well, let's just simplify it. There still should be a time period, but let's simplify it a little bit. Make it not as long, but we still have to establish that they're going to have a loyalty and that they have a certain mindset for the country. So we know that they're going to be loyal and contribute.
Yeah.
And be patriotic in their own way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does make sense, but it's just like, it's like a lot of people are getting like deported and stuff like that. And then like...
Why are they getting deported? Probably because they're illegal.
Yeah.
No argument with that. See ya.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, there is no argument. It's so unfortunate because that's not what our country is built off of. We're built off of diversity and unity and welcoming.
100%. But guess what? Everyone who came here, even before, they came here the right way.
Yeah.
We're a country built on diversity and this and that and this and that. But guess what? You still have to be a legal immigrant. You still have to have a visa. You still have to you still have to go through the steps.
Yeah, you gotta follow the law. Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like some of the people who are like being deported and stuff, like I feel bad for them if they're actually trying to come here and do the right thing, and maybe they haven't done what they needed to do.
But granted, if they're being deported, then they haven't done the right thing.
Yeah, that's true. I can't even argue that. It's like, so, but do you feel like, I don't know, I feel like we're prioritizing enforcing the strict rules, but we're not really being welcoming. You know what I mean? I think there needs to be a balance between that. It's just like, these are the rules, but it's just like, okay, these are the rules. Like, can you please make them where they're a little bit more easily accessible for the people who are trying to come here and do the right thing? Like, I get the criminals. I get the people who are here not doing the right thing. But, like, what about the people who are here doing the right thing? Like, it's like, yeah, you put them all through the same process, make it a little bit shorter, but then when somebody does the wrong thing, well, hey, at least they're in the system, and you can hold them accountable for their crimes and things like that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I think like we spend a lot of time like trying to enforce all of these rules, but we're not really being a welcoming country as we proclaim to be.
We're pretty welcoming.
Yeah, we are, but I mean, I feel like
there was a whole app that the Biden administration had that people they get on the app and like, oh, this is how I get through the country and get to the border. Like,
yeah,
we're pretty welcoming.
Yeah, no, we are, but I mean, like, we can't just be based off of like.
But you have to come here and follow the rules.
Yeah, you gotta follow the rules.
Common
but
sense.
I mean,
there's nothing really.
My opinion is
that rules, much to debate about it.
The rules are a little bit extensive. I would like to see a little bit more.
What are the rules, though?
I don't really know the rules. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like the timeline. That's what really gets me. Is just
Look
like
up the rules then.
Oh, are we gonna use Grok?
Sure.
All right, so I have to go to your account. We talked about this on our last episode using Grok, aside from Chat GPT, because usually that's what I use. But Donovan put me on to Grok, and I've literally been using Grok. I used them to create a recipe tonight. Okay.
Just
right here. I'll have to... Listen, we don't have anyone in the back helping us do this stuff. We're just doing it ourselves. So we're going to go to Grok right now. Basically, Grok is an app that...
it's AI.
AI.
All right, let's get to it.
Look at him freaking rushing me. Leave me alone. All right. So what should we be... What are we asking Grok again?
What are the procedures to become a U.S. citizen? Give me a very concise answer. Yeah. Step by step. Concise.
Close enough.
You could have spell checked.
Oh, I could have used spell check. That's true. Okay, so Grok is searching. So to become a U.S. citizen through naturalization, follow these steps. Confirm eligibility. Must be at least 18.
18. Got it. Okay.
Lawful
Green
permanent.
card. Got it. For 5 years. All right. 3 years if married to a U.S. citizen. Got it. So you got to have a green card and 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen. Okay. That's going to establish a little bit more loyalty, right?
Okay.
Good moral character. Got it. File form N400. With application fee. Biometrics, fingerprints, photo. Complete interview. Pass English and civics test. And attend a USCIS interview to review your application. Take an oath. That doesn't seem very complicated.
It says processing typically takes from 8 to 12 months. I said 5 years. Anybody who is listening who may be illegally immigrated into our country, if you've been doing this process, how long has it took you to do what you need to do? Because here it says 8 to 12 months.
If you're illegally immigrated in this country, you're probably not even going through this process.
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, if you are and you've been doing
it the right way. But just go back across the border and try to come back the right way, because...
And wait 5 years to do it. I mean, I don't know.
It's not that long, right? This is the United States.
America is...
we try to do
we
things
do
the right
things
way.
weirdly sometimes. Okay,
But that doesn't seem very much to me, right?
Yeah, based off of what Brock has aligned for
If
us.
I'm married
it
to a
doesn't.
U.S. citizen, like, okay, cool, 3 years, great.
Yeah.
I have to be a good person, show that I have good moral character. I'm loyal to the country.
Yeah.
Take a little test or whatever. And, the country, 1776. Okay, that's when we were founded, blah, 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 blah. Whatever other questions that they ask me. And cool, take an oath.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because, like, when
It's not that long.
When you first meet someone.
Not complicated, just like I said.
When you first meet someone, you don't just immediately trust them right away. It takes a little while, you take a little while and then you build a relationship. So once you build a relationship,
of course, that's the whole thing.
So I mean, it's understandable that things are the way that they are. I kind of
all right,
I get it.
Let's just keep moving
let's
on.
Go. Yeah, I was just gonna say that we're going to talk about teen gender transition and parental consent.
Okay.
So this is a big topic. I know there is going to be a lot of controversy here, but I think it sits at a crossroads between mental health, identity, and parental rights. There's some teenagers who think that they're super confident in who they are and how they feel, so they feel like they really trust, if I believe that I am a different gender than what I actually am, then that must be what I am, right? Me, where I stand on that, I think that's just mental health issues. I know there's a lot of studies and
I think if you're born with a penis, then you're a male. Period. If you're born with a vagina, then you're a female. Period. Right? You could be a gay female. You could be a gay male. You could be in between, bisexual, or whatever the case, right? But biologically, you're either a female or a male. Whatever your sexual preferences and your freakiness is, that's your own thing. I don't give a fuck. But you're either a male or a female.
Yeah. I mean, but for the people who feel that way about themselves, how do you respect what they're feeling about, if a dude, to me, if a dude wants to really be a fucking woman, I don't.
If a dude is
care.
An adult, if a dude is an adult, and there is a thing about the DNA and the chromosomes. Some people have you could be born with male genitalia but have certain female chromosomes or something like that.
Yeah.
But okay, whatever. That's kind of a weird conversation. I'm not too educated on that, but okay, whatever. Anyways, let's say you're a male, you're an adult, you're a full-blown adult, and you want to be a female. Okay, cool, you got the money to do it, right? But as a child, 100% no.
No, I stand fucking firm on that.
If you're an adult, that's your consequence.
Yeah,
you make that decision, and then you find out that later on you were mentally ill, or you really wanted to go down that route, whatever the case may be. You're an adult now, so you make that decision. You take that upon yourself.
Yeah, no, I feel that 110%.
But legally, as a child, no. Sex change,
especially
no.
the topic that we're on is because it's out right now that teens should be able to make these decisions without their parents' consent.
No, that's not even right. Federally, marijuana is still illegal.
Until you're 21.
So if I think that marijuana is okay for my kid to smoke at 16 years old, right, whatever the case, hey, man, you can smoke a little joint or whatever, but the federal government says that you can't.
Nah.
But the federal government might say that, your kid can go chop their balls off without you? No. That makes no sense.
Fucking bizarre to me. And it makes no sense at all.
So, no. Not until you're an adult.
What do you feel about the people who are making these decisions? I don't even know how to answer that question for myself, because it's just I don't even know how to feel about them. For them to advocate for such a thing, so diabolical as teens being able to make a decision to have their genders change without their parents' consent. That is just,
I don't know.
The world that we are living in. No, I don't have any names. Let me see if I can look up with Grok, if they're what people like actually support this.
It's a various personnel in the bureaucracy of the crazy leftist side of the government.
So it gave Grokos a pretty simple question. I'm just going to see what it throws back at me. So let's see. Biden, the first thing that pops up is Biden administration. So the Biden administration, 2021 to 2025, basically they consistently supported this gender affirming care for transgender individuals, which is a crock of shit. Like, I can't even believe that they would even fucking like, what the fuck? Like, what? But whatever. So on his first day in office, and I guess you can go back to even find these things, President Biden signed an executive order directing federal agency to combat discrimination based on gender identity.
They're making a battle that doesn't exist.
Right.
Nobody gives a fuck if you're gay.
Right, yeah, no, yeah. Do whatever the fuck you want, yeah. No, for sure.
They're radicalized.
For sure.
They're making something... They're radicalizing
But,
shit.
like, to have a whole procedure done to change your sex is a little fucking bizarre. Not to mention, like, if you look at the studies of this shit, like, the failure rate and the complications that you have in these procedures are actually pretty fucking high. Like, I've done a little bit of research. Like, I can't cite anything or anything, but I have done a little bit of research on the topic where there's like a 60-something% like complication rate. So why the fuck would you even allow people to be doing something like that?
Let's just think about it for a second real quick, right? Let's say I really like men, which I don't.
He doesn't. No. I confirm.
Let's say I really like men. Not. Men are so sexy. Right? I just want to be a female. Oh, because men are so sexy. Even if I think that way, I don't know how I could put myself to chop my penis off and my genitals.
Yeah.
To have, like, what? No. Like, you got it. Something got to be wrong up in there.
I don't.
It's okay. Okay, being gay is one thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care. Like, if you have, like your sexual preferences is one thing, but literally changing your whole gender from what you were born here on the earth, like, who the fuck do you think you are, motherfucker?
And if you want to do that shit, you know what? If that's how you really feel, if you're really that crazy, like, I don't care. Like,
but be an adult. Don't do that as a child.
Adult. Can't do it as a kid.
You know what I mean? Don't do that as a child, because you know what? If you're a teen that is watching this, and you shouldn't be fucking watching this because this is not for kids, but whatever, if you made your way here, wait until you're an adult. Wait until your brain fully develops so you can just, like, actually make the... Don't put those decisions on your parents and stuff. They probably feel bad.
And when does the brain fully develop?
And for women, it's a little bit earlier based on the studies, but that isn't always the case. Sometimes a man can develop a little bit further than men. A man can develop further than a woman, but between 25 and 30 years old for male and female, maybe female a little bit faster than male. So
if you're smart, you're gonna wait that long before you make the decision.
Yeah, for sure. And there's nothing wrong with waiting. Although we support gay people. We love gay people. We have freaking friends who are gay. We fucking love them. They're great. But just like doing things as a minor without parental consent, I don't even think that the government should.
Let's have common sense, right? Take a breath.
You smell the incense,
Think about it.
Yeah.
Does this make common sense, right? Write it down. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. If it doesn't make common sense, there's probably something fucking wrong with the things that you're thinking.
Yes, I agree.
You probably need some help.
So, we're going to leave it at that. We're going to switch gears a little bit because I want to talk about voting rights, but not just any voting rights. I want to talk about voting rights for felons. Should felons be allowed to vote? I mean, some people argue that breaking the law means you lose your right to these privileges and you should never have the right to vote again. I think and believe full-heartedly that people who have done the time for the crime and they have been released back into society to function as an American, that they should be able to vote. That's what I think.
I think it's case by case.
Oh, yeah, of course, that too. I mean, it's a little bit, I guess my answer to the question was
If during this podcast I punch her in the face right now because I had a little bit too much to drink, right? Somebody see me through the window, called the police, right? They come out here, right? Now I have a felony for domestic violence in the state of Maryland. This is a really, like, bad, good example, but let's just say, right? Like, let's say that did happen in some universe. Do I deserve the right to vote?
No, because
based on all of the
who
circumstances,
would want to punch me in the face?
and
You
the totality
deserve
of
to
everything.
lose your
Yes,
right to vote.
I deserve the right to vote
No.
because I was just giving an example, right? An example for the podcast.
If he actually did that, I hope that you guys would advocate for his right to vote to be
But
taken.
anyways, like let's say young 18-year-olds, right? They get in an argument, they push each other down, right? Some female gets a little bruise or whatever the case may be, right? And the neighbors call the police and the male goes to jail. You know, he gets charged with a felony and he just made a really bad mistake that night. Should that affect him for the rest of his life, for his voting?
No.
100% no. So I just think it has to be balanced. We really need to dig into it and kind of like weigh the variables on this and that and this and that and this and that. But for me to say like yes, or for me to say that if you're a felon, should you have the right to vote? Yes or no? I feel like that's a little bit too black and white.
Yeah, it's honestly a big controversial topic, but I think like it's a little outdated because like in the 1800s they wanted to implement like felons not having the right to vote, but the reason why they wanted to do that was because they were trying to keep African American people from voting. So it was like a really racial thing, and I feel like we've kind of carried that on through the years, even though things have changed and it's no longer the same, because like the reason why they started doing that was like in the Civil War or something. So they basically didn't want to. It was after slavery ended, so it's like, you know, some people still feel in a kind of way or whatever. It's a racial thing. They're keep felon for votings because I mean back then a lot of the crime were in African American. It was like found more predominantly in those areas, in African American areas, and African Americans were felons, and that was more commonly seen back then, whereas or acknowledged, I guess, based on race, because you know slavery wasn't long ended. So I think it was a way to punish African American people, which is a little bit unfair, but we've kind of carried out the tradition of that law, and it's a little bit out fucking dated, you know, because it doesn't apply to everyone. Like if you commit a crime, you know, and you're in there and you're doing your time, okay, you don't have the right to vote. But as soon as you're out here working, paying taxes, doing everything else that I'm doing as an American that's never committed a crime or been to prison or had a charge, you know, I feel like you still do deserve those same rights, you know? So I feel like people deserve to vote for their democracy.
You got to slow down a little bit because it's really hard to keep up with what you're saying.
Okay. I'm sorry. I tend to talk a little fast. So basically, I think that people who are felons should be allowed to vote and participate in democracy. For one, that's the right thing to do. Two, if they have done the time for their crime or they have accepted the punishment for whatever their crime may have been, and they were trusted to be released to the public to participate in society like me and you, then they should have a right to vote.
And if you want us to deep dive on this, if you want us to deep dive and really dig into this topic, I'll be more than willing. Let us know.
Yeah, definitely comment below. You know, it is.
But right now we're just kind of like touching the surface.
Yeah. So we're always willing to get anyone's opinion on the things that we're talking about, to talk about them in a little more depth. Even if we dedicate like a whole podcast to just doing research and trying to find out whatever answers you guys may have about that, and we may have the same answer and not even realize it until you let us know that. I mean, I think to end this topic off is just like, do you think that people should their past determine their voting rights? I don't think so.
It depends.
I don't think so.
It depends. In general, no, but it depends.
No, I feel like if you're in jail, then you're in jail, and you are your rights are stripped.
If you are in prison for the rest of your life,
then you don't vote.
Okay.
You don't vote. But if you're released, then
you should have the right to vote.
Yeah.
If they release you from prison, there better be a damn well good fucking reason they released your ass.
Yeah.
And you better have the right to vote when you're released.
Right.
Period.
If they trust
Otherwise, keep your ass in.
We don't want your motherfucking vote, bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
Period. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, if you're doing the crime,
if you're out, then you should have the right to vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're locked the fuck up,
it's over with. Sorry. I don't feel bad. Because if you would have not committed the crime, then you would not be doing the time, and you would have your access to voting rights. But you don't, because you're in jail. That's your fucking bad, my guy. Like, it is what it is, you know? So I guess since we've kind of made our decision there, stuck our pole in the ground.
What's our decision?
Is that I think our decision is based off our little conversation that we briefly touched on the topic, is that if you're a felon and you're released, you should have the right to vote. If you're in jail,
I think we're pretty much kind of beating around the bush on everything. I think that it's all nuanced and it's situation dependent.
True. Yeah, that's true. Because I feel like even it depends on what they did. Because like I'm sure if somebody like gave me a really good story, I'd be like, no, they should never have the right to fucking vote, and I would like stand firm on that. It is dependent.
It's gonna take a lot of thought, a lot of analyzing to come up with a logical decision.
But just on the surface of the topic, I think that people
on the surface, two people talking
without any situations to give us an example of why, you know, somebody shouldn't have the right to vote. I feel like
case by case. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're gonna dive into the next topic, which is natural medicine versus big pharma. So we're just shifting gears a lot a bit to talk about, you know, something we've seen more people turn to. So I feel like a lot of people have been wanting to use natural medicine, even more so today. I see like on TikTok and social media.
Why would they want to use natural medicine?
I mean, I feel like people are getting
less side effects.
Yes. Yeah. So even though
they don't cause death, blindness, infertility.
Right.
Erectile dysfunction.
And I think people are
whatever the case may be, right? There's so many different side effects that come with these different medications.
There is. And I feel like people are getting like tired of how long it takes for natural medicine to work, but I feel like they're more readily wanting to accept the prolonged process of that because of all of the cons with taking.
And let's be real, like look at it, right? Natural medicine and pharmaceutical, right? Like, what's the big determining difference, right? The big determining difference, right? Let's say A works and B works, right? A works in the natural world, B works in the pharmaceutical world. But A is made to look not as reliable because it doesn't have a guy or a bunch of organizations with white coats behind them advocating for said prescription, right? And then A is made to look like fool's gold. It doesn't really work, right? So people in our society naturally start to trust the guys in the white coat, and then A option is made to be a little bit unreliable, foolish, or whatever. Regardless if they both work, right? They may both work, right? A works, B works. B comes with a million side effects. A comes with one or two side effects, right? But everybody trusts B.
Right. Well, and with that being said, in the 1900s, like, people were using natural medicine more often, and then big pharma started like putting their nice clothes on and stepping out. People started to notice them, and doctors started to advocate
They
for
started putting on their Gucci,
and they started to see them, and
Prada.
people started to say, oh, this way works better, this way is faster, but it comes with side effects. But like, who cares? It's faster.
Who cares? Let me
We
give
can
you
pay
a
for it.
20-second commercial with people smiling, playing in the park, swing on the swing.
And they want
You may die early at age 30. Take Parexa today.
and a little bunch of fine print at the bottom. Please double check with your doctor to make sure
Somebody swimming in the ocean, surfing, having a great time.
Oh my gosh.
You may get sunburned and die from the sun if you're exposed to the sun for more than 3 hours. But somebody's outside enjoying the sun.
Yo, and then the doctors.
Okay, I'm just talking shit. But
No, but literally, the doctors are behind the scenes, like, giving out free samples of this medication to promote it and, like, get it out there so people could know about it and shit. Like, that's how it works. And big pharma's in there, like, fucking flexing its muscles, making billions of dollars.
Let's really appreciate the people who made it mandatory for these companies to have to tell all of the side effects, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If they're gonna advertise it, they have to tell it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you,
For
whoever.
Sure. Whoever the fuck did that, for real. But people so dumb, they don't care. They'll be like, I don't care. I'll beat my heartbeat one time per minute and fucking be barely holding on. I'll still take it. Like,
You may have a heart attack in the first 3
They'll
days,
st-
but
they'll still
if your
take
doctor
it.
recommends, try Parexa.
they'll still take it. Like, it's crazy to me. But it is what it is. I mean, people want things that work faster. I mean, I love natural medicine.
But yeah, we're kind of getting off topic.
Yeah.
But natural medicine, yeah.
But
I'm all about
just
it.
because it's natural doesn't mean that it's good. Like, you can't do anything. I don't care if it's natural or it's man-made. You can't do anything excessive. You know what I mean? So it's just great to be mindful of, the cons of big pharma and the pharmaceutical companies and the things that they're creating. But it also is good to be mindful of how, taking natural medicine can also cause damage too. Because there's that, in the natural medicine too. But I mean, I'm still kind of shifting a little bit. Maybe in a different a different podcast, we can discuss, natural medicine and big pharma a little bit deeper and things like that. But I feel like big pharma is rich as shit. They're making billions of dollars. I almost don't trust them at this point for the stuff that they're creating. Because if we look at the COVID-19 pandemic, like,
in general,
that shit was
I
wild.
trust like some pharmaceuticals, right?
Yeah, in moderation. They're making fucking.
They're definitely
billions.
more. The mindset is capitalism and making money.
For sure. So I'm glad we can kind of meet there, because I was almost getting scared for a second. I thought you were gonna be like, nah, like, take pharmaceuticals. I mean, So I think that somewhere in the middle, um, I agree with pharmaceuticals and I agree with natural medicine.
Pharmaceuticals, I think pharmaceuticals are okay.
Yeah.
Right? But for them to be, I think, for them to be completely, I don't know, should pharmaceutical companies be privatized? Maybe not, because the incentive then is to make a lot of money.
Which they're already doing.
You know?
They run the fucking world. It is so sad.
Maybe not.
Because it's almost like...
Maybe pharmaceuticals should be ran through government.
Maybe we should have just fucking, like, be thankful for all of the shit we had before people started coming out with all this man-made shit. Why don't we just stick to fucking natural medicine and stuff and doing mushrooms in the forest? Anyways, to heal our spirit?
Everybody knows that natural remedies are going to be better for you.
Yeah. They just take a little bit longer to work.
Right. We all know the controversies with pharmaceuticals and different prescription medications, right? It's always there, right? We're just kind of touched on that topic.
Yeah, I think people are always going to, like, no matter what, no matter how much time passes.
And I'm no expert.
People always value using natural medicine, you know what I mean? Because, like, even me, sometimes I can, like, go to the store and get us some medicine, like, when you're sick. But I'll, like, want to pick something that's organic. Cause
everybody will agree. Natural medicine is always the best way to go if it works.
Yeah, for sure.
May not be the fastest, but it's always the best way to go. Because the earth provides everything that you need.
Yeah. But then sometimes you're feeling like really crap. You're feeling like crap. And you just want to get something that was made by Big Pharma, you know what I mean? Because it's going to work. Like, that shit works. And, like, we've been stuffed up before. And we've had to get, like, different medications to help us with that stuff that hasn't always been natural. But it works. It helps. And, you know,
Well, if I'm stuffed up and I gotta go, I gotta work, I want to take some of that Sudafed.
Yeah. For real. For real.
Let's go.
Yeah, it gets you
clean me up
where
real
you
quick.
need to be, and it works really quick. Whereas if you're taking something natural,
whoa, it's gonna be a little hard on my liver real quick. All right, whatever. I drank a bunch of water.
He said he's willing to risk it all and shit.
Just an example.
So, I think that Big Pharma they create medicine that causes a little bit more damage, like you mentioned. But they do cause a little bit more damage. But natural medicine is the way to go. It is the way to go. That's kind of where I stand between Big Pharma and natural medicine. Although I kind of stand in the middle of both of them. Like, I'll use whatever the hell I have to sometimes, even though I don't like to. I'm a gal that likes to use natural remedies.
Whatever is the best option.
So I understand that some things are necessary.
With your resources that you have.
Yeah. And,
right.
I mean, natural medicine's the way to go. And
I think we should really promote, shout out to Ayurvedic doctors, whatever you call yourselves, right? Ayurveda, right? You're not too mainstream, you guys out there, but you guys are onto something.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Ayurvedic doctors. I think that should become a little bit more mainstream, helping people
definitely. I agree with that too. And getting the information out there with all of the knowledge that they have for people to, like, live better lives and stuff. Because, like, I've read a little bit of stuff of Ayurvedic medicine. I think it, like, bought me a book about it. And, like, there was a couple of things that I did out there out of the book that were interesting. I guess since we're, like, on the topic of natural medicine, we'll just dive into our last topic that we have for this show. And it's psychedelics for mental health. So we can talk about psychedelics, I guess, like MDMA and magic mushrooms, and They're like being used now to treat things like PTSD.
Why not? Let it happen.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Put it
Actually,
in the VA. Psychedelics for veterans, 100%.
swear
Let's go.
that would be amazing for people who like have.
Psychedelics, period, for mental health. Let's go.
Yeah.
Not just veterans, everybody. Let's
Because
go.
I've watched so much
Let's go.
and read so much like.
It's been used for thousands of years, right?
Yes.
Let's go.
And
let's stop regulating this bullshit.
Yeah, literally. And I had did a little bit of research on this topic. So, like, Humphrey Osmond, he was a psychiatrist that studied LSD with people in Canada who were addicted to alcohol. And he worked with the novelist. His name was, like, I think, I don't remember his first name, but I documented his last name as Huxley. And he came up, Osmond was a person that originally came up with the term psychedelic. So this was back in the, like, 50s. And he studied the top, like, how psychedelics worked in the 60s. And I guess the political and public views on psychedelics were, like, differing and shit. So Nixon, the president, which, hold on, I made a note of it somewhere. So, like, President Nixon in the 60s shut that shit down, basically. He declared war on drugs. And Humphrey Osmond, who was doing all this research at the time on LSD and, like, people who were, like, addicted to, like, alcohol and shit, like, he was, like, giving them fucking LSD and, like, doing studies on them, pretty much found, like, that people would, like, completely stop drinking alcohol, or they would, like, become better in their addiction. They weren't drinking it that much. And then they declared war on drugs because they were in a time, this was between
Why would you declare war on drugs based on something that worked, right? Why? To make money.
Yeah, but the argument was where
Period.
people were getting too fucking rowdy, and they were already dealing with a lot of issues because this was during the time of the Vietnam War. So there's just a lot of protests
Did you know,
and shit
like,
going on.
I'm speaking off pure memory right now. But they gave soldiers in the Vietnam War methamphetamine to make them, I don't know, lethal, stay up long,
That's fucking
crazy to
crazy.
fucking kill people, right? I mean, look it up, right? We could probably look it up, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it before. They gave Vietnam soldiers methamphetamine, prescribed, just gave them methamphetamine to make them, I'm assuming to be able to stay up, go for long hours. It puts them in, like, an aggressive kind of mind state to be able to combat the enemy. And I think a lot of these guys came back addicted to, like, meth and stuff like that.
So I just used Grok, and I looked it up. I basically said, did they give soldiers meth during the Vietnam War? And it says, yes, the U.S. military provides amphetamines, including meth. Or this long word that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. It was a stimulant similar to methamphetamine to soldiers during the Vietnam War. These were often referred to as pep pills and were distributed to enhance endurance and alertness, particularly for long-range reconnaissance.
Reconnaissance missions.
Oh, reconnaissance. I said renaissance, though. What the fuck? Missions and ambushes. A 1971 report by the House Select Committee on Crime noted that armed forces used 225 million tablets of stimulants, mostly dexedrine, from 1966 to 1969. Dosage and frequency were often unregulated, with some veterans reporting that the pills were handed out like candies. What the fuck? They were just giving these motherfuckers, like, some shit that was like
so they were just like,
holy
like,
fuck.
stimulated,
in
like,
the middle of a war,
like killing motherfuckers in the jungle and shit, like slaughtering bodies, like, watching motherfuckers blow up, like crazy shit. These motherfuckers came back fucked up.
And they probably needed to do LSD and mushrooms, but Nixon was like, no.
Imagine being like high as fuck, like just like
No,
to get through the
that's
day,
honestly
like
really sad.
shooting machine guns, like watching motherfuckers' bodies fucking blow the fuck up, like, and then you get back and like then you don't have that drug and you're just like, what the fuck did I do?
And you don't have access to any.
What did I do?
Yeah, and
you're just fucked up.
Crazy. I never even thought about it from like that perspective,
And
which
then
I didn't know until just now, that when you told me they were giving them fucking like medication, which it doesn't say that it was actually meth, but they were given amphetamines.
I'm pretty sure if you look up another source, it'll tell you that it was, but because you can get a prescription meth, like methamphetamine, like pill. There it is, prescription.
Crazy.
But
these drugs was
anyways,
part of
fuck Vietnam War, man. Shit's crazy, bro. And we went into that war based on a false flag.
They were given heroin,
false
too.
flag. We went into that fucking war. Same thing for the Iraqi war, right? Iraq, Afghanistan, fuck.
Well, you know, a crazy thing about Humphrey Osmond was he was like in the MI6, so basically that's
World War II was like the last legitimate war that we went into, in my opinion, from what I understand.
Anyways, what I was saying was Humphrey Osmond, he was affiliated with the CIA, and he was affiliated with the Military Intelligence Section 6. So, like, I think that's probably why they want to, like, shut down his research, too. Because, like, he was, like, I think he was starting to, like, figure, like, make some progress with his shit. And I don't know, maybe they realized, the CIA and all these other higher agencies realized, like, oh, we can actually use this shit. Because, you know, like, if you look back on some of the studies, like, not studies, but look back on the past and some of the things that the military has done, and the CIA and stuff, in their research studies, they've also used, like, different things, like psychedelics and shit like that, or different ways to research people, I guess.
Have you heard of what is it called? Oh shit. San Francisco, 1960s. They used prostitutes to lure people into rooms in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood and give them LSD.
What? No.
What? You never... What?
No.
Yeah. So the CIA would use females to lure people into in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, particularly during the
Summer of Love,
during that time.
The war on drugs, yeah.
In the 60s in Haight-Ashbury, right, while the hippies and stuff doing drugs, blah blah blah. So women would be lure men into these hotel rooms, right, and then there would be CIA agents behind, like, one-way windows and things like that would, and the female would somehow give these men LSD, and then it would study the effects on them. What was that called? I cannot. It's such a well-known declassified. I cannot think of the name right now. Something with mind control. What's the name of the thing?
What is it, like the MK Ultra?
MK Ultra.
Whoa!
That's what it was.
And you know what gave it to me?
That was part
Grok.
of MK Ultra. That was part of the MK Ultra.
I was thinking it, but I was not certain, so I had looked it up.
I don't know why I couldn't think
I didn't
of
want
it.
to sound silly.
But that was part of MK Ultra. That's one of the things that they
So
did.
I've heard about that. Okay, yeah. And it says they involved prostitutes luring men into freaking safe houses that were set up like brothels. They weren't always like hotel rooms. In San Francisco and New York to study the effects of LSD on non-consenting individuals. But, bro, that shit's so unethical as fuck. If motherfuckers tried to do that shit today, they would have a lawsuit.
You think the CIA ain't doing no unethical shit right now?
So they probably are. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Watch
always.
50 years, it'll be declassified. Like,
but it's kind of crazy that the CIA
They probably did some shit on me.
The CIA. So basically what you said, the MK Ultra, that going on. So Humphrey Osmond like had connection to the CIA, and then like it's crazy because then the president, who was president, declared a war on drugs because people were going crazy on all these drugs and they were doing crazy
Ain't that
things.
Ain't that some shit, bro?
and,
How you gonna declare
riots.
a war on drugs when
He
you
did.
yourself, as part of the government, are willingly, understandingly knowing that you are giving drugs to the people, testing them?
And they were using
That's just one fucking example.
They were using it recreationally too. Like they were just out like doing fucking psychedelics, just like you know. And then he was just like, "No, you ain't gonna do that shit. You ain't gonna hear your mind and feel better. And if you are, it's gonna cost you billions of dollars. We don't know how to do it yet."
Why do you think they would give a war on drugs, right?
No,
They
for real.
understand that the benefits of it. They understand that it can raise your consciousness and your understanding.
Their excuse was they saw it as a threat to human order.
And give you to, yeah, it's a threat to order. Right?
So that's why they declared it, you know, because at the time they were like, hey, there was protests going on. There's a lot of crazy shit. So I guess like the way for them to get back hold of the people was to declare this war on drugs, because like people were using it fucking recreationally. You know, I've never been around like I only imagine like what a time it was to fucking be alive. You know, that's a saying, like what a time it was to be alive. Like people just on fucking psychedelics in the street and it's like recreationally used, and everybody's like on LSD or doing MDMA or fucking mushrooms. And could you imagine like walking outside and that being what the fuck was going on, and what the presidency and Vietnam War going on and what they were thinking at the time, though, you know? So it doesn't really seem that bizarre that it happened. It's unfortunate that the war on drugs was declared, because I feel like it halted a lot of promising fucking research that has recently started in the passing years, where they started doing more research on and they've been allowed to like have funding and things like that to do research on shit.
Yeah,
like,
and then also the people doing all those drugs and different things, and you know, they're probably thinking like, man, we went into this fucking war and it was pointless. Like, why did we do this shit? Because we could look it up, what got us into the war, what was the false flag. But everybody knows nowadays that it was a false flag attack that led the president to enter into the Vietnam War. Like, to justify. Just like it was the false... I don't want to say 9/11 was a false flag necessarily, but weapons of mass destruction. Everybody knows that shit was not real now. In Afghanistan and Iraq, there's no fucking weapons of mass destruction. We weren't going there for weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 like led us to go into there.
yeah.
But there's no fucking weapons of mass destruction over there. Everybody fucking knows that. Even though everybody was told that shit when they were invading the fucking country.
But we're always told some shit, so I mean, it's crazy. There was, I guess, like, people were rebelling back then. I wasn't alive during that time to like understand what was going on, but I mean, I am happy to know that the promise in psychedelics are being researched and it's resurfaced, and there's just like the work that Osmond was doing in his time, it's, you know, proving to be right that there is promise.
I think everybody's work, every little thing that you do has a ripple effect. Up until this day, even us having this little podcast, it's having a ripple effect to make change. So
I wonder
you can make change. Do what you do.
I wonder what life would have been like if Nixon wouldn't have like declared the war on drugs.
I wonder what life would have been if RFK was not assassinated.
No, literally. Yeah. That was like a major fucking turn. It really was.
Ask Grok.
Here, let's see.
What would life have probably have been like if RFK was not assassinated?
Let's see. Oh, I spelled it wrong.
Whoa.
Okay, speculating on what life would have been like if. Oh, let me go back up. Okay, so if Robert F. Kennedy had not been assassinated on June 5th, 1968, involves considering his potential impact as a political figure, particularly if he had won the Democratic nomination of the U.S. presidency. While inherently hypothetical, we can ground this in historical context, RFK's positions, and the era's dynamics. Here are concise explorations. Or here's a concise exploration. So, let's see. Does it give me in summary, if RFK had lived, he might have won the presidency, accelerated the Vietnam War's end,
Boom.
and advanced social justice, fostering a less cynical national mood. However, economic and political challenges would have constrained his visions, and systematic issues would have not vanished. Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's good. Yeah, right. Life for Americans might have felt more hopeful with stronger social norms, but the era's divisions would have
stronger
shaped
social programs,
daily existence. If you want a deeper dive, it can give me a deeper dive. But this basically gives us the point that you're trying to make, that life would have been
why
better.
was he assassinated, right?
That's a topic for a different
Because he's
day,
against the fucking
that...
establishment. Why the fuck was Trump almost assassinated? Twice.
Exactly.
There's a fucking establishment behind there's motherfuckers that are trying to run shit behind the scenes.
For sure. There's no doubt about that. But it's very intricate.
It ain't no fucking, like,
deep.
No coincidence that shit happened.
There's no way.
100%.
But we're just gonna save that for another day. That's a little deep. We're not gonna give it all to them right now. I mean, would you be open to taking psychedelics if it was something that you could use that was safe and it was legal to do? Like, would you use them? Me too.
I have taken psychedelics before.
Yeah, me too. But I was just watching trees grow.
It's called psilocybin mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
No negative side effects whatsoever.
No.
Only thing that you
can have a bad trip on them, but you always get something from the experience.
In summary, it made me kind of see the oneness of everything.
It's beautiful.
I just put it as that.
It's a beautiful experience. Like, I've had
no negative side effects.
I had a negative side effect.
It's good for you. It's good for your fucking brain, right?
But
if you ain't ready for it, then you ain't ready for it.
No, that's true. They say it's not for everybody. Like, you can't just take it like when you're like mentally in a bad place, you know. So like, it's good to take it when you're like mentally in a good place.
Yeah, if you think God is like a man sitting on a cloud in the sky, and like you can't have no Barney like thought process of like life, right? You got to be ready for it.
Mhm. That's for sure. So yeah, I'm down with psychedelics. I'm all down for it. I hate that they did what they did and declared the war on that, because I feel like we would be way further than where we are today. But I'm not feeling that bad about it. At least like we are where we are now, and they're like doing research on it again and seeing the promise that there is in psychedelics. So who knows? Maybe it will be recreational one day. Because some places
RFK is working towards that.
Yeah, and in some places
right now
they decriminalize.
Towards that.
They decriminalize some things in some places, like some psychedelics. I don't know all the places, but I know that they've decriminalized some of it, like mushrooms and shit.
Yeah, I mean, Oakland. That's the
yeah. Okay, yeah. So I knew there was somewhere, but yeah. So I mean, that's a I guess a step in the right direction.
But RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he is actively working right now to make psychedelics.
I would have preferred him president over Trump.
Legal for I don't know all the ins and outs. I haven't read like all the black and white, but making it legal for therapy and things like that for veterans, I believe,
And that's great.
through the VA.
Yeah.
But basically, long story short, making psychedelics legal for therapy. He is working towards that, right? We're only 100-something days into Trump's presidency, so hopefully we'll see that come before the next
and I hope we
4
see
years.
lower grocery prices and shit too, because this is expensive out here. But that's pretty much it for today on today's topics. We pretty much covered everything. So for the people that are watching us, if you like the episode,
Like, subscribe. Let's go.
share with everybody.
Share with your family if you don't care. I don't care.
But we'll be back again. We're going to try to post every week, so we'll be back with another episode. We like tackling topics that are real life issues that make people think, and here there's nothing that's off limits. And if there is a topic that you do want us to cover, you can always mention that in the comments, so we can like talk about it later. We're open to like talk about anything or give our opinion on anything. Maybe you don't care about.
If you want me to go for a whole hour on one subject, 100%, let's go. I'll dig into it.
I'll lose my mind. Oh my god. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's it for this episode. So thank you for being here. We'll see you on the next one.